So the patch that we've all been waiting for is finally upon us. Patch 2.11, and this is the largest patch we've ever gotten. There's over 40-some changes here. So, I mean, the last balance patch we got did nothing, and nothing changed, and it was basically like it didn't happen at all. So Riot's like, you know what? We're going to go full throttle and give you all the changes. So there's a lot to go over today. So I'm going to go as quick as I can because, like I said, there's close to 50 changes. So I don't want to like spend all day on things. So some things will go quickly, some things we'll dwell on. But let's get into it. All right, let's start off with our champion changes, and the first one is to Miss Fortune. And Miss Fortune, she got a nerf not long ago taking away her keywords, but now she gets Overwhelm back. So they're reverting the nerf that they did to Miss Fortune, deciding that she's not as big of a problem as she was at the time, which is true. So maybe we see the resurgence of Scouts. Miss Fortune gets Overwhelm back, so just a strict buff because they reverted the nerf, and now she's back to the way she was. So that's Miss Fortune. Next up, we have Jarvan IV, Demasia's favorite fourth Jarvan. I don't know what that means, but Jarvan is going from allies have survived 4+ strikes to allies have survived 3+ strikes. So he levels up a lot easier. That's 1/4 the amount of strikes needed. Math. But it's just, I mean, it's easier for him. Jarvan is an interesting champion. He's very expensive though, but his level up is very good. When he's leveled up, he does do a lot for winning because he gives you those cataclysms every round. So if he can level up easier, he'll be better. That's a buff. So maybe we'll see some more Jarvan the fourth. Next up, we have Tryndamere. Now, Tryndamere was done dirty early on in the game. He was nerfed to where he didn't get tough, and guess what? Boom! He gets tough back. Do you like my beautiful graphic? I worked very hard on it. You can tell it totally belongs. But yeah, Tryndamere's his level 2. He now has Overwhelm, Fearsome, and Tough, making him a lot harder to kill. So maybe we see some Tryndamere. I'm excited. I used to love Tryndamere. Tryndamere was like one of my favorite win cons in the game, like when the game first came out in like early beta. So maybe we see big, more scary guy Tryndamere. I don't know where I'm going with this. All right, next we have Karma. Karma is another champion that was done dirty, and she was nerfed, but now guess what? Instead of 6 mana, boom, 5 mana. So we might see, I mean, Karma is really interesting, and she's one of those champions that when she's really good, she's usually too good, but when she's not really good, she's like really, really bad. Her effect is just so powerful, double casting spells. So I understand the fear of her being too good because sometimes she does feel bad to lose to, but now that Ezreal's not quite as powerful as he used to be, maybe we can live in a world where Karma is allowed to flourish once again. I really like Karma as a champion. I'm a dirty blue player in Magic, so maybe this will allow us to play more Karma. I love it. Not even scared. This will be great. All right, next up we have everyone's favorite Blade Dancist, Irelia. Dancist is a word. So after Irelia's strict buff that she received last patch, she's getting a little bit of a nerf. So right now, instead of 12+ allies have attacked for her to level up, it is going up to 14. So you need 2 more allies to attack, which it may be relevant. It is a nerf. It is a strict nerf. Math dictates that 2 more allies needing to attack is in fact a nerf. But she's usually leveled on like turn 1 anyways because you attack with 45 blades. But maybe it's enough to stem the bleeding from the Irelia deck. Honestly, the deck right now is just generally like 1 to 2. Let's be honest, it's about 2 turns too fast to kill right now. So this, coupled with some other nerfs that are coming up later, should reduce the overall power level of Irelia, Azir, specifically, which is the targeted deck, without destroying the Blade Dance archetype or Azir as a champion altogether. So I'm hoping that this is enough to just, if it's like 2 turns slower, other decks should be able to compete with it. And this not be the premier only aggressive deck that you play on ladder, and it shouldn't hopefully oppress every other deck possible. So I'm hoping just slowing it down a little bit is enough. All right, next we have a change to Riven, who sees next to no play. She's very, very cool. But basically they're reworking the way that they're changing the way that she works. So right now, when you gain the attack token, you reforge, but they're changing it to the way that like Irelia works, and they're making it to when I'm summoned, if you have an attack token, you reforge. So if you have the attack token and you play Riven, you get the reforge. It's just a quality of life change. It is a strict buff. Hopefully makes her a lot better. Now she works a lot more like Victor or Irelia. It falls into line with the way that the cards work in the game. I like it when cards work similarly. So there's that. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. Heimerdinger. I love Heimerdinger. One of my favorite champions, even though he's not amazing. He's getting a stat bump. So he's going up +1/+1. So at level 1, he's going to be up 2/4. At level 2, he's a 3/5. I didn't make level 2 graphics for all the champions because this took me long enough to make. So just know in your brain that when he's level 2, he's a 3/5. Strict buff. I don't know if it's enough, but it's better, so there you go. Hecarim! Big, scary, spooky Hecarim. He had his stats reduced, and now going to a 5/6. So he's getting a health bump. Again, at level 2, he's a 6/7. Gets +1 health at both levels. Hecarim is a super sweet win con. Hecarim's a cool dude. He's a scary man, and now he's got a bigger butt. All right, Azir! Everyone's favorite, tell the people what you have seen today. Tell the people what you have seen today. Requires 13 units to be summoned for him to level up. Instead of the original 10, now it's 13. Again, that is a strict nerf. 3 more things needing to be summoned. Makes him a little slower. And coupled with Irelia being a little slower, hopefully this means that you're not leveling up on turn 3 when you play him. This probably means but he's leveled up around turn 5-ish on average. So if you can lower the speed of the deck a little bit, maybe it's easier. Azir's a huge problem in that deck because all of the blades and sand soldiers now are 2 attack. So the sand soldiers hit for 3 when they hit your nexus. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully this is enough to tone down the power. I've got faith. Next up, we have another Shuriman God getting hit, and that's Nasus. He is getting a unique nerf, and it's just to his level 1 ability. And his level 1, they're removing Fearsome, so he's no longer scary when he is level 1. Level 2 and 3 still have Fearsome, so those aren't changed. So this is even more incentive for you to level up the big doggo. I like this. A lot of times, like, even if he's, a 5 attack or so, with having Fearsome, it's enough to just kill you really fast. And so now he's got to be at least level 2 to get the Spell Shield and Fearsome. I think it's a very interesting nerf to the card. Without completely ruining it, he still does the same thing that he did before. You can still do the atrocity thing. Decks, all the Nasus decks still play the same. Thresh Nasus isn't any different now, but it is a little less powerful because removing a keyword is a strict nerf, because that's how nerfs work. All right, moving on, because again, we have like another 40 to get through. Sivir is getting a buff, and this is one I really like. Sivir now, instead of needing to do 35 damage, only needs to do 30 damage. So, again, math. We're learning math today. I really like this because it feels like going from 30 to 35 takes more effort than you would think, and this levels her up probably like 2 turns earlier. And Sivir is really cool. She's one I've been playing a lot, and she's a very interesting champion. So I'd love to see the Sivir buff. Hopefully this sees more Sivir play. Math. Again, it's on our side. All right, I don't know where I'm going with that. All right, now let's talk about Talia, and this one's interesting, and I might have this one wrong on how it works. So if I'm wrong, whatever, I don't care. Before you, female, man, that's not how it worked. I was making this graphic a while ago before the full card art got to me, okay, so that I could get it on time to you. But they're changing her level 2, and currently what it says is attack. Deal 2 to my blocker. If it's dead or gone, deal 2 to the enemy nexus instead. If you have a landmark, do this 2 more times. So here's how it's now read. Now it says attack, deal 2 to my blocker 3 times. If it's dead or gone, deal 2 to the enemy nexus instead. So the way I'm reading this and interpreting it is it no longer needs the landmark in play. So if she's level 2, you attack, she does the 3 blastos, that's not a word, but she does the 3 damage things to the enemy. And it should still work similarly to how it worked before. So there's 3 of the 2 damage things on the stack because it happens 3 times. And if the thing that it's attacking is dead, those go to the nexus, I think is how it should happen. There's a world where maybe that is interpreted where she attacks 3 things go on the stack. If the thing that it's attacking dies, only 2 damage total goes to the Nexus. I hope that's not the case, and I hope it's the first one. If so, this is amazing buff to Talia. I really like it, and I hope that's how it works. I'm not going to dwell much longer on it because I could be completely wrong, but I'm thinking that's a buff. All right, next, let's talk about Taric, everyone's favorite buff Targonian. He has now got a bigger butt. So they're giving him +1 health. So he's a 3/5 at level 1 and a 4/6 at level 2. It is a strict buff. He's got a bigger butt. Congratulations. And speaking of bigger butts, Aphelios going from a 3/2. He was nerfed before. He used to be a 3/3, and guess what? He's back to being a 3/3. So Aphelios getting his health back. So now he's a 3/3. Should help him a bit. He did get gutted pretty hard before. So I think this is a good change. His moon weapons are still 3. We'll see if this is enough to help him be viable, because the whole meme of dies to Mystic Shot was a real thing with Aphelios. All right, champion's done. We have an insane, crazy amount of follower changes to get into. And let's start with Make It Rain. Make It Rain. This card was nerfed before from a 2-mana spell to a 3-mana spell. Well, guess what? Now it's back to 2 mana. This is a large change. We saw it was everywhere at 2 mana. It wasn't played at all at 3. Well, it was rarely played at 3. But at the time, the card was too strong, so it needed to be nerfed. So now maybe the meta and the game has changed enough to where we could live in a world of 2 mana Make It Rain again. I'm excited. I love seeing Riot be willing to revert changes to cards if they feel that they can handle their pre-nerfed versions of the card. So there's that. And speaking of pre-nerfed versions of cards, Black Market Merchant, 2/1 right now. What if it was a 2/2? So it's getting a buff to its health, which is awesome. I love this card, and that's great. Next up, we have a buff to double up. It is going from a 6-mana spell to a 5-mana spell. Mana cost decreases. Great. Don't know if it's enough, but sometimes Bilgewater's hurting for removal. We'll see. I'm not sold on it because the card's kind of poop, but better than it was. All right, let's move on. Slotbot is a card that I know a lot of you love, and now this change is actually pretty awesome. So right now, its ability of grant me +0/+1 for each card you drew last round, then shuffle my power and health only starts on round start, but now, boom, it is on summon and round start. So kind of the same as like the Riven change, Victor change. Now this happens when you summon the card and also round start. So this is huge. This is really big buff for Slotbot. I really like it. Slotbot's a cool card. I love to roll the dice, or I guess spin the wheel in this case. I don't know. I was trying to make a joke and it didn't work. Anyways, let's move on. Confront! And also all of these spells that are also a champ spell, like Make It Rain and Misfortunes Make It Rain. Confront and Shyvana's Confront, instead of 3 mana, 2 mana. So this is a large buff to this card. Granting an ally challenger for 2 mana, much better than 3 mana. Not much else needs to be said. So let's move on because it's already becoming a long video. Mage Seeker Insider, the card that I'm sure we're all so sick of seeing all the time. Oh wait, just kidding. Never gets played, getting a health increase, going from a 4/3 to a 4/4. That's just a strict buff because again, math. Cool. Moving on. Laurent Blade Keeper. This is getting a buff from a 2/3 up to a 3/3. So getting a damage increase. This is a very interesting card, and it originally did see a lot of play in Fiora decks, and then it saw 0 play in Fiora decks, and its body was atrocious. So at 3 attack, we can see it. It is a cool effect, cool play effect, grant an ally +2/+2. I don't know. I'm not terribly sold on it, but there's that. So moving on. One of my favorite changes to one of my favorite cards, Howling Abyss, the great granddaddy of all landmarks. Instead of 7 mana now, boom, 6 mana. I love it. I love the change. Being able to play this a full turn earlier is awesome. Still funny. This card leads to some incredible times. It is a blast to play. If you haven't played it, you're doing yourself a disservice. Get out there and go play some Howling Abyss. 6 mana. There's never been a better time to play some ARAM. All right. Another one of my favorite cards. Rin Shadowblade is going from a 4 mana, 3/3 with quick attack to what I'm just calling better Yasuo, and now a 4 attack. 4 mana, 4/3 quick attack with strike, create a Shadow Fiend in hand. Card is awesome. I love Rin Shadowblade. It's a secret, like, pet card of mine that I always want to be good. 4 attack is huge on a quick attacker. We've seen a lot of people play Yasuo for some reason, because why are you playing Yasuo? Just because he's got 4 attack. So I'm calling this better Yasuo because it is. Because Yasuo is bad. Now let's see a change to the Dancing Droplet. Everyone's, well, no, I was going to say one of the most annoying 1-drops, but that's Sparring Student. Which, spoiler alert, not getting any changes. But Dancing Droplet is now losing a tune. So that's a 1/1 elusive. Still has the when it's recalled draw 1, but you actually have to, like, pay mana for it, because before, like, it was just a pure tempo play. So now, no more attune. That is a bigger hit than you'd think, because before it felt like a free card, especially in Azirelia, because you're just like, yeah, I can just return this at any time because we're using the spells to recall and all that. So pretty decent hit on it, but you're still getting card draw with it when you return it. Still a good card now, just not like absurd. So another hit to Azirelia. Now another one of my favorite cards in Ionia. I love this card. I've played it way too much. Green Glade Lookout is getting a health increase from a 2/1 to a 2/2. This is a big change. A lot of times this means the difference of like getting able to hit once or getting able to hit twice. Before you could never use it on chunk block duty because it got hit by everything because it had 1 health. Now it survives Vile Feast. All the things you know about removal because you're not brand new, or are you? If you are, welcome. But yeah, a second health is gigantic. It's doubling its health. That's twice as good. This card is very fun. Maybe we see more of it being played. I love the card. That's all I'll say. Next up, Young Witch is going from a 1/1 to a 1/2. Again, double the health. This is another interesting one. It's got elusive, and it just died to everything. Like whenever you swung with support cards are tough because you need them to have stats that can let them survive in combat and trade with things. It just got like everything traded into this at 1 health, like Teemo, Zoe, Droplet, everything killed it. So the 1 extra health is actually gigantic. And I know the first thing so many of you are thinking of, now I can dust off my Lulu decks. It is better in Lulu decks. So card is just strictly better. And here's another one that I know a lot of people are excited about, myself included, and I know a lot of you are scared about. William of Ionia is going back to its 4 mana days. If you didn't know, this card was nerfed. It used to be 4 mana, they nerfed it up to 5. Going back to 4 mana, as I talked about earlier with the nerf redoings, what is it called? Reverting the nerfs. This is another one. I love it. I think we're in a world where Will of Ionia should be 4 mana. It's on par with the rest of Ionia cards, and it makes more sense. I think we have more Ionia cards. So this is a secret favorite card of mine. During open beta, this card was an all-star, but then we got a lot more powerful buffs in the game with things like Sharp Sight and blah, blah, blah. So now it is getting a buff to 2 mana instead of 3 mana. 2 mana burst, being able to get something plus 3 health is gigantic. 2 mana burst, being able to get something plus 3 attack is gigantic. Especially when we're getting things like Rek'Sai that cares about attack, blah, blah, blah. You know this is good. This is just better. I'd love to see more Twin Disciplines being played because I think it's a very, very cool card and it's a very interesting combat trick. And it rewards good players. And yeah, I think it's great. Great buff. All right. Next buff. And if you notice, we have more buffs than nerf this patch, which is awesome. So we're getting a buff to the Incisive Tactician, who is the reputation card that blah, blah, blah when you're summoned rally. But now it is getting an attack increase. And this is just a flavor win because it was a reputation card that couldn't trigger your reputation. 4/5, it's an 8 mana 4/5. Those are sad stats. So it's getting better stats. Still, I mean, Riot has to be careful with things that are tied to rally, not making them too powerful. You don't want this to be like Captain Farron stats on a rally stick, but 5/5, much better, triggers reputation. It's just good. It's just a win. And speaking of win, City Breaker is getting an attack increase from no attack up to a full 1. We're talking zillion levels of attack on this card. I love it. This card used to be really good in like Swain Sejuani and various Sejuani decks. This was like one of my favorite cards in, I think it was a Swain Sejuani deck, back when Sejuani first came out. I don't remember when it was, but City Breaker used to be awesome, and now it's got an attack. So now when you're blocking with it, you don't feel like you wasted your entire turn. It's good. It's just good. There we go. Next, another one of my favorite cards. I know I keep saying this, but it's true. Medarda, a card that I've used way too much, going from the worst stats possible, that was obviously a joke, up to not the worst stats possible. It's getting a +1/+1 increase, health and attack, 6 mana, 5/5. We're now in a Medarda meta, so buckle up. All right, Midden Stoke Henchman, going from a 5 mana, 5/3 to a 5 mana, 5/4. No longer dice to get excited. Sweet. All right, this is one that's actually interesting. Rummage. A card that is just played in almost every Piltover and Zon deck is getting a substantial nerf up from 1 mana to 2 mana. This is very big. Now, I am glad that they didn't change it to be like discard 1, draw 1, because I think that would be not great, but doubling the mana cost is huge. Like, this was one of the most efficient card draws in the game, especially in the decks that it was played in, and increasing its mana cost by literally double is huge. I think the card is still not like unplayable. I think it's still an okay card, but it's something now where you have to think. You don't just jam it in every single deck because it has Piltover and Zon in it, or maybe you do. Strict nerf. I think it needed to happen. Rummage is so powerful. 1 mana, draw 2. Very, very, very powerful, but now literally doubled. And let's talk about another card that annoys a lot of people. Beam Improbulator is a card that has become one that is on everyone's discussion board because of the power of Ezreal Draven specifically, going from 4 mana to 5. So getting a 1 mana increase as well. This, in tandem with the Rummage increase, is a pretty big deal, especially for the decks that play them. But yeah, Beam Improbulator. I mean, that's a full turn later, again, that you're playing this card. A lot of times you can't squeeze 2 into 1 turn now. I think it's a big hit to the card. I think the card is still viable. I just don't think it's now necessarily meta warping. So it is a big hit. It is a big hit. Mana increases always are more of a detriment than stat increases or stat decreases. So this could be a pretty big change to the Improbulator. I know it's a card that a lot of people hate. It's got a lot of feel bad moments attached to it, but it also has all those feel good moments. So I'm glad they didn't change what it did. I know a lot of people were thinking that it was going to start at like deal 0, summon a 0 cost follower. I would have hated that personally. So I think this is good. This is a card that I realistically see changing another time or two in the future, just because it's one that's kind of hard to balance. But speaking of meta warping, this is a card that gets talked about a lot, and the Watcher is getting essentially a rework in what it does. So let's talk about the Watcher. So what is happening is it is getting a big change. So it is now, there's a lot of text, and I tried to make this as clear as possible. Now it needs to summon 5+ allies that cost 8+ this game in order to be free. And also it has a Maokai effect. Instead of just obliterating the deck, it now obliterates all but 3 non-champion cards in the enemy deck. So it's no longer just a strictly better Maokai. There's some play around. You still have the alternate win condition of blowing up the opponent's deck, so it's not completely unplayable, but you don't just win on the spot with no interaction at all. Anyone who's played against the Watcher decks know that getting an extra 3 turns is huge. There's so many times where you're able to like shuffle like a champion back in your deck and get really close to winning, but now you get an extra few turns, so it's a really big deal. I don't think it's completely unplayable, but it makes the Matron Watcher decks considerably worse. But even more important, it doesn't completely ruin my Lysandra Timelines decks, which I've been playing way too much. So I like the change. I think it's elegant, and we'll see. This is another card that I see getting changed again in the future, but we'll see. All right, speaking of cards that have been changed, Rossa the Sunderer is getting a buff. It used to be a 7 mana card. They nerfed it down to 8 mana, but now to compensate for that, they're giving it a stat increase up to an 8/6. I don't think this is a massive enough change to make you want to start playing Rossas. Maybe it does. Whenever a card gets buffed or nerfed, people generally like to overreact either way. So anytime a card gets buffed, you'll start seeing them incidentally on ladder, and same with nerfs. People just stop playing them altogether. I have a tinfoil hat theory that I'll get to after this video and all of these incidental stat increases that we're getting. I have a tinfoil hat theory, but I'll save that for the end. Strict buff, Ross has gotten a little better. Same thing's happening with Dusk Raider. This card used to get played a little bit, but then people found out it wasn't amazing. It's getting an attack increase from 2 to 3. That's just strictly better. Not much more needs to be said about that. This card, Escaped Abomination, is one that it used to be a 4/4, down to a 4/3. Now it's down to a 4/2. I don't know what else needs to be said about it. It's one of those cards that gives so much tempo. Everyone's played against Curse Keeper and to Butcher and to lose the game. So now you at least you usually have the Mystic Shot in hand, but you're like, dang, that 3 health. So now you can kill it. Good change to the card. Things trade into it better. Yep, good nerf. Another nerf to Shadow Isles, who is a little too powerful at the moment. Stalking Shadows, more efficient card draws being nerfed from a 2-mana spell down to a 3-mana spell. It seems like they're really wanting to hit a lot of the efficient card draw with this set, and I'm okay with it. Stalking Shadows is very, very strong, and this makes it a little worse. I think the card is still good. It's a really, really powerful effect, especially in decks that want this, but it makes you think about putting the card into the deck, which I like having deck building decisions, so there it is. I don't like cards that are auto-includes and everything, so I like this. Another change, the Clock Hand, going from the worst stats imaginable up to at least semi-reasonable stats, getting a buff all the way up to 7 attack. That's big. The Clock Hand, we've actually seen some Clock Hand get played now that Turbo Thralls has become a deck. So this is much better. This a lot of times appears as like a one-of in those decks, especially in tournaments. We saw the Clock Hand in some decks. We saw it get played in the North America seasonals this last weekend. So now it's better. It is just better. It's a buff. All right, speaking of a buff to a card that's never been played once, Raz Bloodmain from a 6/6 up to a 7/7. All right, let's talk about Dune Keeper. This is a card that, when it was first revealed, the very first day, everyone said this card's gonna get nerfed because 2/1 for 1 that makes a 1/1 that hits for 2 makes it a 1-mana decimate. So now it is a 1/2 instead of a 2/1. It's significant to the card's power level. Again, this may change it to where it's no longer just an auto-include in every single deck. So there you go. Next up, Mountain Sojourners, which has an abysmal stat line, just actual poop. It's going from a 5-mana 2/5 up to a 5-mana 4/5. Much better, +2 attack, again with support units you want to be able to trade in combat. Now it might be able to do it. This card's very cool, has a very unique effect, and I'd love to see it get more play. So there you go. Another card, Sun Guardian, from a 4/3 to a 4/4. There you go. All right. This is another one that has been in hot contested posts all over the internet. Star Shaping, a card that everyone loves and everyone hates. It now, instead of healing 5, heals 4. It puts it on par with like Decimate, which is 5-mana deal 4. This used to be 5-mana heal 5. It's kind of a big meme. So this is, I mean, it's less healing. 3 healing less overall if you have 3 in the deck. A lot of times that it means the game. Card is still very powerful. It did not get gutted by any stretch. You still invoke a big Celestial. It's still burst speed. Card's still good, but now it's not just as broken. And we're seeing the same thing happen with Danger Noodle. Danger Noodle is getting nerfed from a 2/1 to a 1/1. It's a big hit, but it's a 0-cost card that was a 0-cost 2/1 challenger. Very, very powerful. Now it trades into less things. So yeah, it is just a nerf to the card. I think it's a good nerf though, because this card was very strong. And the same thing with another card that a lot of people really hate, the Fangs. This has become an auto-include in every Targon deck as well. It's going from a 3-2 down to a 2-2. I'm glad that it still has lifesteal. I'm glad they didn't make it more expensive. It just heals less now, so it's a lot less. We're talking, I mean, if you're doing full stats, going from 6 healing from 3-2, now it's going to do 4 healing. It's a lot less. This, coupled with the Star Shaping nerf, might be enough now to just make Targon I mean, it obviously makes it heal less, but not be like the most oppressive control region where you just heal 48,000 health over the course of the game. And there it is. We got through all of them. And now onto my Tinfoil Hat prediction here. Tinfoil Hat Saucy Mailman coming at you. So my theory on why all these various units are getting these minor stat increases, and put on your hats with me, put on your tinfoil hats. It's because we're going to see concurrent timelines be very strong in the meta all of a sudden. And when you're getting all these units with horrible stats off concurrent timelines, it feels really bad. So now concurrent timelines is going to be much better. All of these buffs, just a strict buff to concurrent timelines, and Riot Games know I love concurrent timelines, so that's why we're getting all these buffs. You heard it here first. I'm the first one to say it. Tinfoil Hat Saucy Mailman is very smart. That is all we got. I'm so sorry this is a long video. I tried to rush through it as fast as I could, but again, there were almost 50 changes and a lot more buffs than nerfs. This is the biggest patch we've ever had, coupled with a new set coming out as well. We should see a vast shakeup in the meta, and I'm very excited because it's getting stale. All right, I've tried to talk fast. That's all I got. Let me know in the comments, what are you excited for? What is your favorite change? What's your least favorite change? What do you wish they would have changed? Let me know, because I love having a discussion. You can also come on my Twitch channel every Monday through Friday. I stream every morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. I forgot when I streamed for a moment, but twitch.tv/Saucy Mailman. Come hang out with me. I'm always streaming stuff, playing a bunch of crazy things, and expect a lot of Scout Teemo this first week of the expansion. But that's all I got. Thank you so much for sticking around. I love you very much, and until next time, you stay saucy. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and help me destroy the YouTube algorithm overlords by leaving a comment and liking this video. I appreciate you very much. You're amazing, and until next time, you stay saucy.